Welcome back, everybody. Today we're taking a deep dive into The 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu,
Okay.
specifically his planning power loop framework.
Sounds interesting.
Have you had a chance to look at it at all?
Yeah, I took a look, and it's not your typical goal-setting advice. That's what I like about it.
Right. It seems like he goes beyond just setting goals.
Exactly. He really digs deep into
Not SMART goals and all that.
Right. He digs into goal design, understanding your personality, and then also having strong systems in place for execution.
So it's more dynamic than just like
Way more.
a static plan.
Exactly. It's an iterative process.
Okay.
With three main parts.
Okay.
The planned outcome, which is about designing goals that work for you.
Okay.
Personality traits, which is all about self-mastery and becoming the type of person who achieves goals.
Yeah.
And then process, which are the systems that you put in place to make things actually happen.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, there is.
Let's start with planned outcome. Nathu is really big on clarity when it comes to setting goals.
Makes sense.
In fact, he says that vague goals are like the enemy of progress.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, think about it. If your goal is just to be successful, how do you even start? What does that even mean?
Yeah, that's super vague.
Super vague. Your brain can't focus. It doesn't know where to put energy.
It's like, I'm going to go on a trip,
Exactly.
but I have no destination.
Yeah, you need a destination.
Nathu uses Google and Tesla as examples in The 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu.
Oh, yeah.
Their goals are huge,
Massive.
but they're very clear.
Yeah.
Like organizing the world's information, that's Google's or Tesla. Accelerating the transition to sustainable energy.
And what's interesting about that is they're big goals,
Huge.
but they have measurable steps.
Okay.
So it's like they have the big vision, but they also have these concrete steps that they can take, and it allows them to adapt as they go.
So they don't get overwhelmed by just the sheer size.
Exactly. It's not just this huge thing. It's like, okay, we're going to do this today, this tomorrow, this next week, and eventually it gets done.
It's like in the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu when he says that the impossible becomes achievable when you break it down.
Yeah.
He uses the example of a coffee shop entrepreneur who wants to expand.
Right.
It seems impossible at first,
Of course.
but by using this framework, that big dream actually becomes a bunch of little steps.
A series of steps.
Right.
And that's what Nathu provides. Is like he gives you the tools to make those steps.
And I think that's the key, taking something that's inspirational
Yeah.
and making it actually actionable.
Making it real. Yeah.
Okay, so we have our well-defined goal,
Okay.
but now let's get into the personality traits part of this loop.
Okay.
This is where it gets interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's not just what you do, it's who you become.
It's about the journey, right?
In the process.
It's like you're working towards a goal, but you're also developing yourself along the way.
You're developing your habits, your mindset, all that stuff.
Absolutely. You're building that resilience that you need to succeed not only in this goal, but in life.
Like James Clear says in Atomic Habits, success is about building the right habits.
It's like putting yourself on autopilot.
Right, like autopilot to success.
So when you have these good habits, it becomes almost effortless to do the things you need to do to reach your goal.
Because it's part of who you are.
Exactly. You become that kind of person.
Nathu gives examples of people like Steve Jobs.
Oh, yeah. Great example.
He had laser focus, incredible discipline.
Yeah, he was relentless, wasn't he?
Yeah, like he could simplify complex problems.
Yeah, and he could really envision things clearly.
And then Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
She had to overcome so much adversity, but she built this huge media empire.
She's so self-aware.
Right.
And that goes back to that first part, planned outcome. She knew what she was good at. She knew her strength.
And she made sure her goals aligned with those.
Exactly. She played to her strengths.
And then, get this, Nathu even uses Toyota's lean manufacturing as an example.
Wow, interesting.
For self-mastery, but at an organizational level.
Okay, so he's saying that these self-mastery principles, they can be applied to teams, to companies.
Yeah, to systems.
Yeah.
It's about constantly improving, being adaptable, identifying inefficiencies.
It's like they're always trying to get better.
Yeah.
It's a continuous process.
So whether we're talking about Steve Jobs, Oprah Winfrey, or Toyota,
yeah.
self-mastery plays a huge role in their success.
Huge. It's not just some abstract idea. It's about specific traits and habits that actually help you achieve your goals.
And the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu really helps you identify and cultivate those traits.
It gives you the roadmap.
Okay, so we have our goals. We're working on ourselves.
Okay.
But how do we actually make it all happen?
That's the next part.
We're going to talk about that after the break.
Sounds good.
Now it's time to talk about the process.
Okay. The process.
This is where the rubber meets the road,
Yeah.
right? This is where we bridge the gap between our vision
Yeah.
and actually getting things done.
This is where it becomes real, yeah, in the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu.
And Natu says having strong systems in place is key.
Especially when that motivation starts to fade.
Oh, tell me about it. We all start with that initial excitement,
Totally, but then
life gets in the way.
exactly, distractions, things come up, and that goal feels far away all of a sudden.
Yeah, so that's where having a process can really make a difference.
It gives you that structure and consistency you need to stay on track.
Right, like a compass.
Exactly, it guides you back to where you want to go.
And I like how Nathu uses real-world examples.
Me too.
He talks about Amazon's working backwards framework.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
They start with what the customer wants and work backwards from there.
It's so smart because it forces you to think about the end goal, what value you're bringing.
Yeah, and then figure out how to get there.
Exactly, you're starting with the end in mind.
And he also talks about agile methodology,
Okay.
which is all about iterative progress, flexibility, making changes as you go.
You're not stuck with a rigid plan.
Right, you got to be able to adapt.
You have to be able to incorporate feedback, change things as you learn.
And then he talks about OKRs, objectives, and key results.
Oh, yeah, those
We're
great.
breaking down goals into measurable steps, making sure everyone's on the same page.
They're really good for keeping you accountable.
Yeah,
You can see if you're actually making progress towards your objective.
but he also mentions some more, everyday tools,
Right, more practical things.
like the Eisenhower matrix,
Yeah, for time management,
or even things like Trello or Asana.
for organization and project management.
So it's about finding the right tools for you.
Exactly. What works for one person might not work for another.
But the key is having a system
Yeah, some kind of system.
to keep you organized and on track.
Absolutely.
What strikes me is how holistic Nathu's approach is in the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu.
Yeah, it's not just about setting a goal, it's about aligning that goal with your values, developing yourself, and then having the systems in place to make it happen.
It's like all these pieces fit together.
Exactly. They all work together, they're interconnected.
It's like a flywheel.
Yeah, once you get it spinning, it keeps going.
It generates its own momentum.
Exactly. It keeps you moving forward.
But how do you get it started?
Well, Nathu would say it starts with self-awareness, understanding your values, your vision, your personality.
Because those are the foundation of your goals.
If your goals don't align with who you are, it's going to feel like a chore, not something you're excited about.
And that's where the self-mastery piece comes in.
Yeah.
You got to develop the discipline, the focus, the adaptability to stick with those goals.
And the interesting thing is, the process can actually help you develop those traits.
Oh, so they work together.
Yeah, it's like a cycle. The more you stick to your process, the more disciplined you become, and the more disciplined you are, the easier it is to follow your process.
I like that. So we have our goals, we're working on ourselves. Now how do we build those systems?
You got to break things down. Take those big goals and make them into smaller steps. That's where Agile or OKRs come in. They give you a structure for making progress.
And those can seem complicated, but you can start simple.
Totally. Even a to-do list can be a good start.
As long as it's focused.
As long as it's aligned with your goals and helps you stay on track.
It's about finding what works for you.
Yeah, experiment. Try different things until you find a system that you can stick with.
And the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu gives you a bunch of different options.
There's something for everyone.
He gives you those big frameworks, but also more practical, everyday tools.
The key is to use what works for you.
And remember, these systems aren't set in stone.
They need to evolve as you evolve.
As your goals change.
Exactly. It's a continuous process of refinement.
You try something, you get feedback, you adjust.
And you keep moving forward.
It's that iterative nature of the planning power loop that makes it so effective.
It's not about finding the perfect plan. It's about constantly learning and adapting.
And Nathu really emphasizes feedback.
Oh, yeah. Feedback is crucial.
Not just from others, but also from yourself.
You gotta check in with yourself, see what's working, what's not, make
It's
adjustments.
so easy to get lost in the day-to-day.
You gotta step back and look at the big picture.
Make sure you're still on track.
Exactly.
So, to sum it up,
Okay.
the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu is saying, clarify your goals, work on yourself, and build systems that support your journey.
But it's not a one-time thing.
Right, it's a cycle.
It's continuous. You plan, you execute, you evaluate, you refine,
You keep going.
you build that momentum.
And it applies to any goal,
Big or small.
personal or professional.
That's a framework for life.
It's almost like a roadmap for personal evolution.
I like that you're not just achieving a goal, you're becoming a better version of yourself.
It really is. It's like he's giving you the tools to level up in life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've talked about a lot of stuff today. Clarity, self-mastery, those systems.
Yeah, the process.
But the key takeaway for me from the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu is that success is a journey. It's not just like you achieve something and you're done.
Right. It's ongoing.
It's about constantly trying to improve, to grow, to learn.
You got to brace those ups and downs.
Yeah, use every experience as a way to get better.
And remember, you have the power to shape that journey.
You're not just along for the ride.
You're the one driving.
Exactly. You decide where you're going, you set those goals, you build those strengths, you create those systems.
It's a pretty powerful idea.
It is, and I think people really connect with it. We all have dreams, things we want to do.
Yeah, aspirations.
And the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu gives you a way to actually make those dreams happen.
So for our listeners out there, how can they take all this and apply it to their own lives?
I think the first thing is to really look at their goals. Are they clear?
Yeah.
Do they actually align with their values? Are they exciting enough to keep them going?
Yeah, that motivation's key.
And once they have that figured out, then they can start thinking about what traits they need to develop, what habits they need to build.
To make those goals a reality.
And then it's about building those systems, whether it's something simple or a more complex framework. The point is to have something that helps them get things done.
It's about taking action.
Yeah, not just thinking, not just dreaming, but actually doing something, even if it's a small step.
Because the small steps add up.
They do. Action creates momentum, and momentum leads to success.
And one of the things I like about Nathu's approach is that he says there's no one right way to do things.
It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. Try different things, experiment, adjust,
The key is to keep learning and adapting.
It's about embracing that whole journey, even the messy parts.
And trusting that each step you take is bringing you closer to where you want to be.
And you got to celebrate those small wins along the way.
Absolutely. Recognize that progress. Give yourself credit for the effort.
Keeps you motivated.
Yeah, you see those results, it keeps you going.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu, what's the one thing you'd want our listeners to remember?
I think it's this. You can achieve anything you set your mind to, but it's not about some magic formula. It's about having a clear vision, developing yourself, and building systems that support you. It's about showing up even when it's tough and trusting the process.
Because the process is where the magic happens.
You got it. It's about believing in yourself, believing you can grow and achieve those things, and taking those steps, even if they're small, towards the life you want.
And remembering that you're not alone on this journey.
There are tools, frameworks, people who can help you, but it starts with you, taking ownership of your goals, believing in yourself, and committing to becoming the best version of yourself.
So to all our listeners out there, as you go on this journey of self-discovery and achievement, remember this. You have the power to create the life you want.
Believe in yourself, trust the process, and keep moving forward. Success is waiting for you.
Thank you for joining us today. Visit the 1 Hour Guide website for more business insights by Anil Nathu.